Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Lamplight City. My name is Darwin and I play video games. Lamplight City is a wonderful steampunk-ish detective mystery game that is kind of like a weird love child between Edgar Allan Poe and Charles Dickens. A little bit of Sherlock thrown in there. So we are currently on our second case of the game and we are trying to find who kidnapped the son of these rich snobs here. So let's go see what we can find out. I've already searched the nursery. Let's go and search the bedroom first. Clump, 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 clump. What do we have here?
Fancy. Some poor servant's probably gonna get a flogging for leaving it in here, though.
Right? Those kind of things don't belong in the bedroom.
Who in their right mind would need that many drawers?
Let's see what we have here. A very poorly written letter addressed to Mr. Harris.
I don't suppose it's a letter of admiration.
On the contrary, the author seems quite upset.
Mr. Harris, this is your weekly reminder in how much I hate you. Because of you, my wife is dead. My wife was a wonderful woman and you have taken her from me. I hope you suffer as much as I have. Arthur Devens. Well, that certainly gives motive, huh?
Nothing else of note in any of the drawers.
Oh well, at least we got to play a rousing game of Search the Rich People's Dresser.
Right.
Wardrobes are usually always full of wonderfully dark secrets.
The wardrobe is dark and full of secrets.
Yeah, it seems like this is where Mrs. Harris keeps her unmentionables. I like the ones with the frills and the stitched cat. Paperwork and receipts. Nothing particularly interesting here. More lacy underthings. I wonder which Harris they belong to.
Oh my.
One thing is for certain. Mr. Harris uses entirely too much starch on his shirts. An empty suitcase. I suppose Mr. Harris must travel every now and then. Mr. Harris's color selection is almost as drab as yours.
Let's see if there's anything of interest in any of the pockets.
So, Mr. Harris is a fan of the...
Oh, cut that off, sorry. So it's a racing stub.
Mr. Harris's color...
Nothing else. Alright.
Painting of the city. Probably the only time the Harris family sees any of the other boroughs. Oh, another four-poster. The Harris family certainly makes no secret of their wealth. It looks like a pile of women's clothes. Must belong to Mrs. Harris.
There's a handwritten note among the clothes.
And that's why we click everything. Miriam, baby, I have to see you tonight. It's been far too long. Arr. She getting a pirate? Arr. Alright. Miriam.
I have some questions for you if you're up to answering them, Mrs. Harris.
I'll try my best, Mr. Fordham.
You'll do better than your best. We're trying to find your child. Button, who's got the button?
I found this button in your son's crib. Does it look familiar at all?
No, I don't recognize it. It looks like it came from some cheap coat. Is that what the ruffian who took my baby was wearing?
That's what I'm trying to determine.
Moment of truth.
I found this note in your bedroom. What can you tell me about it?
I've never seen that note before in my life.
Are you absolutely sure?
Mr. Fordham, you mentioned you valued discretion. I ask you to please exercise some now.
Would it be possible to speak about this in private? In another room, perhaps?
Out of the question, Mr. Fordham. I shall not leave this sitting room in the company of another man if my husband is not present.
Yes, I understand. Let's put the subject on hold for now.
What a life these rich people lead. All the money in the world and they're trapped like rats.
That's all for now, Mrs. Harris.
Very well.
So prim and proper these rich folks are. Alright, Malcolm, your turn. Where were you on the night of October the 8th?
I have some questions for you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, of course.
I found this button in your son's crib. Does it look familiar at all?
No, not at all. Do you think the kidnapper might have left it behind?
It's a distinct possibility. I found this letter in your bedroom. What can you tell me about it?
You went through our things?
I'm a private investigator, Mr. Harris. It's part of my job.
Yeah, simmer down.
Of all the insolence!
You're upset, I know, but do you want me to find your son or don't you?
Yes, of course I do. That letter was sent to me by mistake. It was written to my father. Well, if you can even call that writing.
Have I ever mentioned how much I hate rich people? Because I really hate rich people.
Your father. Doesn't he own the company building the new airship?
Yes, that's right. He's been receiving many letters just like that one since the Lygia disaster. But that Devons fellow in particular has sent one every week, along with a bag of chicken bones and dust.
How peculiar.
Not only that, he leads a daily protest in front of the construction yard where the HMS Lenore is being built, trying to halt production.
This will be easy to find.
My God! How did I not see this before?
See what?
Devons! He has a grudge against this family because of what happened with the Lygia. I'd put money on him being involved with the kidnapping somehow, as a form of retaliation.
I'll just have to speak with Mr. Devons and see for myself.
New objective. Alright, how about the betting stubs?
Mr. Harris, what can you tell me about these?
What? How did you...
Listen, I'm trying to help you and your family. I can't do it if I don't get the entire truth.
Do you think we could discuss this somewhere more private?
I suppose we could.
Good. Let's move to the nursery then.
Ooh, perfect.
I have some questions for you if you're up to answering them, Mrs. Harris.
I'll try my best, Mr. Fordham.
Right, your husband's not around to hear you, so tell me about this note.
Fine. I got that note last night from Roland.
Who is Roland?
Roland is a special friend.
I see.
Oh, don't you judge me, Mr. Fordham. You have no idea what my marriage has been like. Marrying Malcolm wasn't my idea, nor even his. The whole thing was orchestrated by our fathers. They thought merging the two families would be a good business arrangement.
Is your marriage an unhappy one, then?
It wasn't easy at first, and it didn't get any easier as it went on, either.
So then, why not end it?
Mr. Fordham, we are a respectable family. There are certain considerations. Besides, I had no legal grounds. For all his faults, Malcolm is a very faithful man. Almost frustratingly so. Then, somewhat unexpectedly, we had Charles. At least that made things bearable.
I'm sorry for you, Mrs. Harris, I really am. But I think I should talk to this Roland.
Why? He has nothing to do with this.
That's for me to decide. Where can I find him?
I don't know. I've never been to his home. We usually meet at a hotel.
Can you tell me anything that would help me track him down?
Well, he's a musician. He plays the piano at some clubs in Gascon, but I don't know which for sure.
How about his last name?
I don't know that either.
Oh my.
I gather you don't talk much.
I refuse to answer that question, Mr. Fordham.
It's a good thing I don't have a stomach anymore, because I can guarantee you its contents would be on the floor right now.
That's all for now, Mrs. Harris.
Very well.
So I wonder, is this child even Mr. Harris's?
Shall we continue our conversation, Mr. Harris?
Yes, of course.
Now that your wife is out of earshot, tell me about the kidnapping, and what these betting stubs have to do with it.
Right. As I said before, it had already happened when I got home. I had just come from spending the evening at the meadows.
I see. I take it your wife isn't impressed by your hobby?
I promised her weeks ago that I would stop going, but I've had such a good streak lately. The last thing I wanted was to upset her further, yet it would be foolish of me to just give up on something so promising.
Can you think of anyone who might want to do you harm by taking your son?
Several, I'm afraid.
Go on.
I haven't exactly had the best of luck, Mr. Fordham. That's why this latest streak was so important to me. The truth is, I've gambled away most of my money. I've had to take out several loans so Miriam doesn't get suspicious. If she ever found out, it would be over. I can't lose her, Mr. Fordham. I just can't.
Where have I heard this before? You know, things would be so much easier if people just talked to each other.
Thanks,
I've tried
Connor.
doing business above board, but lately I've had to seek other resources.
What do you mean?
I was forced to visit a lending office. The owner was a rather shady Sambo, but I figured he'd be easier to deal with than the usual sheenies that run those type of places.
Can you believe this guy? Maybe we should just leave the kid be. He'd probably be better raised by wolves.
Who was the owner?
Mr. LeFay. I didn't bother to get his first name. His business is an abattoir row in Chumley. Horrid place, but I was desperate.
You think this Mr. LeFay may have taken your son as collateral?
Let's just say there isn't much those type of people wouldn't do to put a crown in their pocket.
Curiouser and curiouser. Secrets upon secrets.
How goes the construction of the new airship?
There have been some complications, but nothing we can't handle.
Could you be a bit more specific?
Well, I already told you about the trouble with protesters at the yard, and we're blocked pending Royal Maverick's review of the safety regulations for the prototype etheric diffusion engines. Agitators and red tape aside, we should still be on schedule to have the Lenore finished and in the air by the end of the year. But really, Mr. Fordham, what the deuce does this have to do with finding Charles?
He has a point, you know.
Those are all the questions I had for now.
All right. If you don't mind, Mr. Fordham, I'm going back to the living room. I don't want Miriam getting suspicious.
No, it's quite alright. Let's see. We still need to find out who or what SS is that's on the piece of cloth we have. We speak with Mrs. Davis, who's on the property as well. Speak with Arthur Devons at the Harris Construction Yard. Find Roland, the musician. I swear, either some of these references are absolutely brilliant, or I'm putting far too much into these than there really is. But Roland, sound. Some of you will get that. Speak with Mr. LeFay, the moneylender. Yeah. And that is in Chumley, which is where our partner, who's now the voice in our head, got shot accidentally by us. So let's see what we can find. Ooh, lots of new locations. There's the lending office, Harris Construction Yard. This is Davis's quarters. Harris residence. Okay, so we can't... Yeah, that's Chumley over there. Let's talk to Mrs. Davis first.
Come in.
Good day to you, ma'am. I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. I'm looking into the kidnapping of Charles Harris. Are you Mrs. Davis?
I am. Oh, bless the spirits. They've sent someone to help at last.
What do we have here?
Another Harris hand-me-down, no doubt. You'd think they would have washed it first. Seems like that boiler's the only thing in here that's less than 10 years old. My mother had a pewter teapot as well. Always made the tea taste funny. That chest is full of undressed dolls? What the hell is wrong with this old bat?
Interesting.
It's a spirit reaching out to a very frightened man. Possibly the fakest looking photo I've ever seen. This looks like a mourning portrait of a young woman, probably a relative of Mrs. Davis. Painting of a tower on a Scottish moor. I wish I'd been able to make it over there.
Morning photos. That's the photos of the dead.
Painting of a misty forest with a cemetery in the background. Cheery stuff. Her Majesty Queen Jessica. This was clearly painted a long time ago. Pretty distinguished looking gentleman. Handsome. Good fashion sense. Wonder who he is. A boy taking a nap under a tree while his dog runs around in the distance. That brings back some good memories.
Do we have the books?
These are all books on spiritualism and the occult. Mrs. Davis doesn't seem to have many other hobbies.
Alright. Anything else?
The Harris family doesn't seem to hold the comfort of their servants in very high regard. I think a bed of nails would be an improvement.
I have some questions for you, Mrs. Davis.
All right.
Aw, look at her.
Tell me about the kidnapping of Charles Harris.
Oh, dear. May the spirits forgive me. I feel so awful. Charlie was my responsibility, and I failed.
Mrs. Davis, that is beside the point. What's important now is finding him and bringing him home. To do that, I need your full cooperation.
Oh, you're right, Mr. Fordham. I'm sorry. I just need to collect my thoughts, get the negative vibrations out of my mind. Now, what specifically would you like to know?
What time did the kidnapping occur?
I'm not entirely sure. I know I was in the nursery having a cup of tea about 8:30. I remember feeling very drowsy. I must have passed out then because the next thing I knew, I was being woken by Mrs. Harris.
Something in the tea.
That was after she got home, about 10:30. To think, whoever took Charlie did it while I was in the room. Oh, may the spirits grant me peace.
Do you happen to take any sort of sleep medications or soporifics?
Oh, dear me, no. Those types of drugs cloud the mind and make it impossible to tune into the ether.
You say that as though it were a bad thing.
I beg your pardon?
Apologies, I spoke out of turn.
So, Miriam told us that she got back around 9:30, and her husband got back around 10, which is when they sent for the police. She's saying they came in at 10:15.
Can you think of anyone who would have wanted to take the child?
Well, I'm not one to gossip, but I am quite sensitive to the energy and vibrations that people give off.
New Age nanny,
I
man.
get the impression that Mr. and Mrs. Harris aren't very happy in their marriage.
Ah, come on. Anyone could have picked up on that. Anyone except you, that is.
Mr. Harris likes to stay out late and not take his wife with him. I can't remember the last time they went out together. I don't know what he gets up to, but it's possible he may have made some enemies.
Can you think of any reason why someone would want to kidnap Charles?
It might have been for money, but last I heard there was no demand for a ransom. I honestly don't know why this happened, Mr. Fordham. I just hope you find the poor child. He must be scared to death.
I found this piece of torn fabric in the nursery. Does it look familiar to you?
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry.
I found this button in the baby's crib. Do you recognize it?
Why, yes. That's one of Barney's eyes.
Barney.
Charlie's stuffed bear. It's his favorite toy, a gift from my friend Linda.
I didn't find a stuffed bear in the nursery.
Then whoever took the baby must have taken Barney as well. Oh, at least the poor thing has something to comfort him. Bless the spirits.
Interesting.
Who is Linda?
Mrs. Linda Walker. She's a good friend of mine. As I said, she gave me Barney as a gift for Charlie.
Can you tell me anything else about her?
Oh, she's a lovely girl, very much in tune with her spiritual nature. I greatly enjoy my conversations with her.
When was the last time you saw her?
Oh, I don't remember. No, wait. It was at the last Spectre Society meeting on the 19th. That's right.
What is the Spectre Society?
It's a club for spiritualists and amateur investigators of the paranormal. We meet twice a month to socialize and discuss our findings.
I see. Sounds fascinating.
Ghost hunters.
Though I don't expect you to share my beliefs, Mr. Fordham.
Oh, I have a bit more experience than you'd think with regards to the spirit world.
You can say that again.
Where exactly do these meetings take place?
At a private residence in Gascon.
May I have the address?
Why, yes, it's 325 Rue Jameau. Are you going to seek spiritual guidance to find Charlie?
Perhaps. You never know what might be worth looking into.
So many leads to follow.
That's a lovely portrait. Who is it of?
That is my late husband, Jonathan. He used to attend meetings of the Spectre Society with me, bless him. I tried to get him to be more in tune with the other side, but I think he was just humoring me. He was a good man. Everyone at the society cared for him very much.
Do you have Linda Walker's address?
No, I don't. I never visited her home. I get the feeling she doesn't like having visitors or being home very much. She prefers to meet people elsewhere. I was the same way after my husband died. It was embarrassing for my friends to see me living so differently. But I feel it's not just a matter of pride for dear Linda. I think there are lots of bad memories associated with where she lives. I try to stay away from places like that. They leave a mark on the soul, you know.
Interesting.
How long have you worked as a nanny?
Only a few years. I never had to work when I was married. My husband had a lot of money. Unfortunately, he was in great debt. And after the spirits took him back to the ether, I wasn't left with much. So I began working as a nanny to make ends meet. But I consider taking care of children a reward in its own right.
And now let's find out about that creepy chest of dolls.
I couldn't help but notice that chest full of dolls in the corner.
Oh, that. Oh, I know it must look a bit strange, but I pick up old and broken dolls so they can be repaired and donated to orphanages. It's my way of giving back to the community and helping poor children who have nothing to play with.
Well, what a kind soul. I wish she would find less creepy ways to express her altruism.
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Achievement unlocked. Not what it looks like. Excellent. Alright, well this is a good place to leave it. We have tons of options of places to go. Alright, so if we go back out here and look at our map, we're going to see...
I'll be going now, Mrs. Davis.
May the spirits guide your path.
all of the new objectives that we found, right? So... Spectre Society... No, we don't have quite as many. We just got the Spectre Society. I thought we'd get a few more. So we do need to go there. Need to speak with the moneylender. Not so bad. Alright. We're going to leave it here. Thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying this playthrough of Lamplight City. If you've liked the video, please like it. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe and spread the word. Follow me on Twitter. Get notified of all my postings. And my name is Darwin. I will see you on the flip side.